Good afternoon. My name's Alan Cox. Thanks for being here. Welcome. Say hi to Bill Squire. He's right over there.
Hey, creepy hugs.
Mary Santora is here.
Hello.
And Poundcake's back in Studio G.
Afternoon, white people.
What a time. What?
You kicked that son of a bitch out of there?
No,
What was going on in there?
Scooter's still in here.
Scooter was okay.
He had the computer right where he left off both screens, and he has a laptop in here. So I just set all his stuff down and proceeded as I normally do.
Did you do the full arm swipe off of the countertop with all of his things onto the floor?
No, because he had coffee on the counter and I already spilled, liquid in here once. I'm not going to do it again.
Right.
I'm respectful. I mean, who'd have thunk that having a communal space might, overlap a little bit, but it's fine.
Hot take from Poundcake. Top of the show.
Imagine he'll come in here, tap,
How do you
tap,
like
tap,
that?
and get his stuff.
Well, he knows you're in there, though, and we're on. And
I don't know what people know.
he's there in the morning. Well, I see him in the morning. I mean, he knows. He's normally out of there.
That's what I'm saying.
Scott's the longtime producer for Wilson Snyder over at TAM. And he's in there in the morning. And then they're done at like 9 or 10. He's usually out.
Well,
and then somebody else is in there.
It looked like...
And then they're gone by the time you come in.
It looked like he was on the run because everything was exactly where he left off.
I hope he's okay.
I hope so, too. That's
The
why.
radio people have been dropping like flies.
Is that the Bill
hope,
Wills that got famous from the Alan Cox Show?
Bill Wills from the Alan Cox Show. That's right. That's what he was telling me an anecdote about a cashier at a pet store. And who had heard him on this program. Anyway, hey, if you'd like to join us, please join us, won't you, on this Halloween Eve? 216-578-1007, 800-348-1007. Send me a text if you like, 35192. I was sitting at my daughter's concert on Saturday night. We had a thing where we live for the little one. They do like a local Halloween thing. That was in the daytime. We wrapped that up. And then I get in the car and I head to Michigan State University because my older daughter had her fall concert. And so I'm sitting there about halfway through. We'd just gotten out of the intermission, I think, actually. And I get a message on the Alan Cox Show group chat that Matthew Perry died. And you could have hit me with a ton of bricks, boy. That is like, for us Gen Xers, Matt, that's like up there with like Cobain dying. Mm-hmm. I know Cobain was young. We were all like kind of his age, and everybody's got their problems. But Matthew Perry, Jesus Christ, this guy.
So sad, dude.
Oh, he just moved into these new digs like 3 weeks ago. He's finally getting himself into a good spot after, I mean, his travails, very well documented, very publicly documented. But this guy, alone in his hot tub in his brand new house, they're still trying to figure out what happened.
Oh, it wasn't a bathtub?
It was a hot tub.
Oh, is that a different level? Is that a luxurious passing?
It's terrible. It's awful.
A luxurious
You know what he's
passing.
getting at.
Luxurious. No, I know what he's doing. So what do you want to do?
I'm curious. Was this an overdose? Did he overdose?
They didn't say that there were any drugs in the vicinity.
Yeah, but his death is still under investigation, correct?
But they're doing a toxicity thing, yes. A lot of times when people are young like that, they have to do extra...
Young?
Well, 54. That's not an old man.
I'm
He's
just
54
saying,
years old.
Whitney Houston passed away at 48.
That's young.
She was in a
She
bathtub.
died young, yes.
And they before the proper investigation, they said that it was an overdose or she had crack or cocaine in her system. So
Right.
if they do an autopsy and it happens that he has...
But he wasn't a cocaine. He was a prescription drug addict.
Regardless, if he has any type of substance in his body...
Cody's never going to let it go.
No. There's nothing. But there's nothing to let go. Like what? So follow through on your thought.
Is he a crackhead? Is he a pill popper that happened to die from his own...
Well, he was by himself, and it seems to me that if he had been surrounded by prescription drug bottles, then they would have said, oh, now we know what to look for.
Are you going to keep that
Or if
same
he had
energy that you had for Whitney Houston for Matthew Perry?
Do I have what?
Are you going to keep that same energy that you had for Whitney Houston for Matthew Perry?
What energy?
If it turned...
She was a crack addict.
So he's saying if
I know what he's saying. They're not the same thing.
How?
Whitney Houston was an active crack addict.
She was not an active crack
She was
addict.
not in recovery.
She was in recovery.
You said there was cocaine and crack in her
That's
system.
what they said.
Right. That's what the medical examiner said.
They said it.
She died
prematurely.
She died because she had crack and cocaine in her system.
There's substances
now, if
in
they
his
come,
body,
if they come back and they go, Matthew Perry's body was all crack and cocaine, then yeah, that'll be terrible. However,
he's not a crackhead. He wouldn't be a crackhead.
No, he wasn't a crackhead because he was very publicly addicted to prescription drugs. Nobody ever said, I hope this guy gets off crack.
Okay.
I know what you're trying to do. And feel free to do it. If that makes you feel better, feel free to do it.
I know all the dodges you're making.
I'm not making any dodges.
Make excuses for you.
He was a very public about his
And Whitney Houston
addiction.
was very public about her addiction, too.
No, she wasn't. She denied left and right. I ain't on crack. I ain't on crack. Sitting there with Bobby Brown. She denied nonstop that she was a crack addict. Crack is whack, right?
Yeah,
she did like PSAs.
That
Crack
was 20
is whack.
years ago.
Remember when I thought that the guy in the bar was Matthew Perry's father? It'll show up sometimes in the sum up shows. We were years ago. It might have been after one of the comedy tours. I don't know what it was, but we were down right around the corner here at Wonder Bar, I think. Is there a place there called Wonder Bar?
There
On
is.
4th, yeah.
Yeah, we were in there, and there was an actor that I recognized, and I was convinced. I was half in the bag, and I was convinced that it was John Bennett Perry, who is Matthew Perry's father. And the guy goes, no, it's not me. And I was like, why? It's not telling everybody that you're Matthew Perry. Whatever.
You're a liar.
It wasn't him. But anyway, Matthew Perry had all kinds of issues, but he had been finally getting himself into a good spot. And, of course, his father is still alive. Mother is still alive. His mother worked for Justin Trudeau's father. His father, Pierre Trudeau, was the Prime Minister of Canada many, many years ago. And Matthew Perry's mom was his press secretary. And then she went on to marry a guy named Keith Morrison, who is obviously Matthew Perry's stepfather. But he's that guy in Dateline that like Bill Hader used to parody, the white hair and the weird cadence when he would do the stories. That's Keith Morrison. But back in the day, boy, Matthew Perry had it all. He was banging Julia Roberts and Gwyneth Paltrow, and he was with Lizzie Kaplan for a long time, and he was in Chris Farley's last movie. Remember Almost Heroes?
Love that movie.
That was a movie that where they were playing Lewis and Clark, or the guys that followed Lewis and Clark.
They were in a competition with Lewis and Clark.
There you go.
And
it was Chris
to get to
Farley,
the Pacific Ocean.
and they had offered this other role to Hugh Grant and Bill Murray, and they had both turned it down, and then they went to Matthew Perry because it was early 90s. It was a big deal. And it was released after Chris Farley died. But he was very public in his addiction issues. He wrote a book not long ago. He had just finished kind of the press tour for that book. And again, he didn't look like he was in great shape, but he seemed to be feeling better about things. Apparently, he had a huge obsession with Batman. He was obsessed with Batman because he's like, well, we're both rich loners, and we're trying to help people, blah blah blah. Because all he wanted to do, he said, because I don't want people when I die, I don't want people talking about friends. Of course, that's all anybody's going to talk about. That's your most.
I'll talk about Fools Rush In. I'll talk about the Whole Nine Yards.
Whole 9 Yards.
The Whole
God, I
9
love
Yards
that
is a great
movie.
movie.
Fools Rush In was awesome. I think he said that was the favorite movie that he did.
Yeah, because he got to
Fools Rush In.
make out with Salma Hayek.
Yes,
That's
a
the best.
young, foxy Salma Hayek. But he was, very, very into Batman to the point where like friends would give him Batman-themed gifts and some things like that. And so we say goodbye, Matthew Perry, with some Batman in your honor.
Everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app or whatever smart device